Felix, is something wrong? Sarah asked without thinking. Felix leaned in and kissed her. Sarah gasped and pulled away, eyes wide in shock. "How dare you?" she snapped, her voice filled with anger. Sarah, the only daughter of the late billionaire Mr. Frank, had always lived a life of comfort. After her father's passing, she was left to manage his vast fortune and businesses. Though she had wealth beyond measure, she felt lonely and vulnerable. That was when Axel, her late father's personal assistant, stepped in. Axel had been Mr. Frank's right-hand man for years, handling business affairs and personal errands. When Sarah's father passed away, Axel remained by her side, offering comfort and support. Their relationship grew from professional to personal, and soon they fell in love. To Sarah, Axel was a blessing, someone who understood her pain and stood by her. When he proposed, she didn't hesitate to say yes. Felix, the family's longtime driver, had been with Mr. Frank for years and now served Sarah with the same loyalty. He often drove Axel to his meetings, dropping him off at different hotels and restaurants. At first, Felix thought Axel was simply handling business matters, but there was something unsettling about Axel's frequent visits to certain hotels. One afternoon, Axel asked Felix to drive him to a specific hotel, claiming he had a business meeting. Felix, as usual, obeyed without question. But when they arrived, a woman came out to greet Axel. To Felix's shock, she kissed Axel on the lips, and they both walked inside the hotel hand in hand. Felix felt his heart pound in disbelief. This wasn't how business partners greeted each other. Something was terribly wrong. As he sat in the car, trying to process what he had just witnessed, he noticed Axel's phone lying on the back seat. Out of curiosity, he tapped the screen and, to his surprise, found it unlocked. His hands trembled as he opened the gallery. What he saw nearly made him drop the phone. Wedding pictures of Axel and the woman from the hotel. They weren't just together. They were married. His stomach churned as he scrolled further and found pictures of a young child, Axel's child. Felix's mind raced. This couldn't be real. Sarah was engaged to Axel, yet here was undeniable proof that Axel was already married. Panic set in as Felix opened Axel's WhatsApp messages. He saw a chat labeled, "My Treasure," and clicked on it. The conversation between Axel and the woman revealed a horrifying truth. They had been planning to steal Sarah's inheritance. Some of her late father's properties had already been sold behind her back. Axel was manipulating Sarah, pretending to love her while secretly working with his real wife to drain her fortune. Felix quickly took pictures of the messages, knowing this information could save Sarah. He had to warn her, but how? Axel was clever, and Sarah trusted him completely. If Felix accused him without proof, she might not believe him. A few hours later, Axel returned to the car, completely unaware of what Felix had discovered. Felix remained silent, but his mind was already plotting his next move. He had to find a way to expose Axel before it was too late. Felix gripped the steering wheel tightly as he drove Axel back to Sarah's house. His mind was racing. He had seen the proof. Axel was a fraud. He was already married and had a child, and now he was trying to scam Sarah out of her late father's fortune. But how could Felix tell her? Would she even believe him? Sarah was always busy. She didn't have time. When they arrived at the house, Sarah greeted them warmly, unaware of the storm brewing beneath the surface. Axel smiled at her, acting as if nothing was wrong. Felix, however, could barely contain his frustration. He had to find a way to talk to Sarah alone. The next day, Felix got his chance. Sarah and Axel were heading to a restaurant, and as usual, Felix was their driver. When they arrived, Axel asked Felix to park the car while he went inside to buy something. This was it, the perfect moment. Felix took a deep breath, walked to the back seat, and opened the door. Sarah was on the phone with some business partners. Sarah looked at him in surprise. "Felix, is something wrong?" she asked. Without thinking, Felix leaned in and kissed her. Sarah gasped and pulled away, eyes wide in shock. "How dare you?" she snapped, her voice filled with anger. "I'm sorry, Miss Sarah," Felix said quickly. "I didn't mean to disrespect you. I just needed to get your attention. You never listen when I try to talk to you, and this was the only way I could make you hear me." Sarah folded her arms. "What could be so important that you do something this reckless?" Felix took a deep breath. "It's about Axel. He's not who you think he is." Sarah frowned. "What are you talking about?" "Axel is already married," Felix said urgently. "He has a wife and a child. He's been lying to you all along. He's only using you to take your father's properties." Sarah scoffed. "Are you drunk? Do you hear what you're saying?" "I swear to you I have proof," Felix insisted. "I saw it with my own eyes, his wedding pictures, his child, and even his chats where he and his wife talk about stealing from you." Sarah shook her head. "That's impossible. Axel loves me. He's been there for me ever since my father died." Felix pulled out his phone to show her the evidence, but before he could unlock it, Axel returned. "What's going on here?" Axel asked, looking suspiciously at Felix and Sarah. "Nothing," Sarah said quickly. "Let's go." Felix clenched his jaw. He had missed his chance, but he wasn't giving up. He needed to get Sarah alone again and show her the truth before Axel fooled her any further. As they drove to the office, Sarah seemed lost in thought. Felix could only hope that his words had planted doubt in her mind. He had to act fast before it was too late. Sarah sat silently in the back seat as Felix drove to the office. Axel, sitting beside her, was busy on his phone, unaware of the storm brewing inside her mind. Felix's words echoed in her head. "Axel is married. He has a wife and a child. He's using you to steal your father's fortune." It sounded absurd. Axel had been by her side since her father died, always supportive and caring. How could Felix accuse him of such betrayal? And yet, something about Felix's urgency unsettled her. When they arrived at the office, Sarah turned to Axel and forced a smile. "I just remembered I left something important at home. I need to go back and get it." Axel raised an eyebrow. "I can send someone to get it for you." "No, it's personal." "I need to handle it myself," she replied, keeping her voice steady. "Felix will drive me back. It won't take long." Axel hesitated but then nodded. "All right, just don't take too long. We have some business meetings to attend, remember?" Sarah smiled briefly before stepping back into the car. The moment Axel was out of sight, she turned to Felix. "Show me the proof."
Felix didn't waste a second. He parked the car safely and handed his phone to Sarah. "Look for yourself," he said. With trembling fingers, Sarah opened the gallery. Her heart pounded as she scrolled through the images. There they were, Axel and another woman, dressed in wedding attire, smiling as they exchanged vows. More pictures followed, showing them with a young child, their happy family moments captured forever. Sarah felt her throat tighten. Her entire world was shattering before her eyes. But it wasn't just the photos, she needed more. She clicked on WhatsApp and opened the chat labeled, "My Treasure." The messages were undeniable. "She trusts me completely. Soon, everything will be in my name." The woman, "Good. We've already sold a few properties. Once you marry her, we'll take the rest." Axel, "Yes, just a little longer, then she'll have nothing left." Sarah's hands shook as she read the messages. This wasn't just a misunderstanding. Axel had planned everything. He never loved her, he was using her to steal her father's fortune, piece by piece. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she quickly wiped them away. She wasn't going to break. No, she was going to fight back. She looked at Felix, her voice barely above a whisper. "We need proof that Axel has already started selling my father's properties. Can we confirm it?" Felix nodded. I know the family lawyer. We can call him now and check. Sarah inhaled deeply, steadying herself. Do it. Felix made the call, and within minutes, the lawyer confirmed Sarah's worst fears. Some of her father's properties had already been sold under Axel's influence. Sarah clenched her fists. We're going back to the office, and this time, I'm not leaving without justice. Sarah sat in the car, gripping her phone tightly as Felix drove them back to the office. Her heart pounded with a mix of anger and betrayal. The man she had loved, trusted, and planned to marry was nothing but a con artist. He had wormed his way into her life, pretending to care, all while scheming behind her back. But now she knew the truth. Felix glanced at her through the rearview mirror. Are you sure about this, Miss Sarah? Axel is dangerous. He won't go down without a fight. Sarah's jaw tightened. I don't care. He fooled me, Felix. He stole from my father's legacy. He was going to leave me with nothing. He deserves to pay for this. Felix nodded. Then we'll do this the right way. The police should be involved. Sarah took a deep breath and dialed the police. She gave them a brief explanation of the fraud and theft Axel had committed. They promised to arrive at her office within the hour. Sarah's hands trembled as she ended the call, but she quickly steadied herself. She had to stay strong. When they arrived at the office, Sarah marched inside with Felix right behind her. She didn't hesitate as she pushed open the door to Axel's office. Axel looked up from his desk, surprised. Sarah, you're back already? Sarah threw the phone onto his desk, her voice cold. Explain this. Axel frowned and picked up the phone. As he scrolled through the pictures and messages, his expression changed from confusion to shock, then to anger. Where did you get this? Does it matter? Sarah spat. You lied to me, Axel. You used me. You pretended to love me while secretly selling off my father's properties. Axel's face darkened. Sarah, listen to me. Don't, she snapped. I saw the messages. I saw the pictures. I know everything. Axel's eyes flickered to Felix, and his expression twisted with rage. You, he hissed. You've been spying on me. Felix stepped forward, standing protectively beside Sarah. You did this to yourself, Axel. You thought you could scam her, but you got caught. Axel let out a bitter laugh. Sarah, don't be stupid. You think the police can do anything? The properties are already sold. The money is gone. You've lost. Sarah's hands clenched into fists, but before she could respond, the office door burst open. 2 police officers stepped inside. Mr. Axel, one of the officers said, you're under arrest for fraud and embezzlement. We have enough evidence to charge you. Axel's face went pale. Wait, you can't do this. Sarah, please. Sarah crossed her arms. You never loved me, Axel. You just wanted my father's money. Now you'll pay for it. The officers handcuffed Axel and led him away. As he was dragged out of the office, he screamed, "This isn't over, Sarah." But Sarah didn't flinch. She had taken back control of her life. Felix looked at her. "Are you okay?" She let out a shaky breath. "Not yet, but I will be." Sarah stood in her office, staring at the door where Axel had been taken away in handcuffs. A part of her still couldn't believe it. The man she had planned to marry, the one she had trusted with her heart, had betrayed her so completely. But she wasn't broken. No, she was stronger now. Felix stood beside her, his face full of concern. "Miss Sarah, I know this is a lot to process. Do you need some time alone?" Sarah shook her head. "No, there's still so much to fix." She turned to her lawyer, who had arrived just after the police. "Tell me, How much damage has been done? The lawyer sighed. Axel managed to sell several properties in secret. The money has been transferred to offshore accounts, which will take time to trace. However, now that he's in custody, we can begin the legal process of reclaiming what was stolen. Sarah nodded firmly. Do whatever it takes. I want my father's legacy restored. The lawyer nodded and left to start the legal proceedings. Sarah sank into her chair, rubbing her temples. She was exhausted, but she knew she couldn't stop now. Felix hesitated before speaking. Miss Sarah, he corrected himself. I just want to say I'm sorry for everything you've gone through. But I'm glad you know the truth now. She looked up at him, giving him a small smile. You don't have to apologize, Felix. If it weren't for you, I would have married a fraud and lost everything my father worked for. You saved me. Felix shifted uncomfortably. I just did what was right. Sarah studied him for a moment. Felix had always been there, quietly loyal, always looking out for her. She had been so blinded by Axel that she had never truly seen Felix before. Felix, she said softly, why did you risk so much to help me? You could have lost your job if Axel found out what you were doing. Felix hesitated, then sighed. Because I care about you, Sarah. Not just as my boss, but as a person. I couldn't stand by and watch someone take advantage of you. Sarah was taken aback by his honesty. No one had ever spoken to her like that. She felt a warmth spread through her chest, gratitude, respect, and maybe something more. Thank you, she said sincerely. I don't know what I would have done without you. Felix smiled. You don't have to do anything alone anymore. I'll always be here for you. For the first time in weeks, Sarah felt a sense of peace. She had lost a man she thought she loved, but she had gained something even greater, the truth, her freedom, and a friend she could truly trust. But as she looked out of her office window, she knew this wasn't the end. There was still work to do, and she was ready for it. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.